Joshua, and welcome to another video on the Steve Rich channel. It's another month, it's another end of month video. February is the month of the films that So first I watched Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa. This was the first Jackass film I watched this month. I did watch the other ones, I'll get to them later. I watched this one first because it was on Netflix and it looked interesting. This film reminded me a little bit of Boba in the sense like it's pranks and like stunts in like the real world, but it has like a plot. And a lot of them are really funny. I really like the bed one where Johnny Knoxville was getting crushed by the beds. But I do think some of the jokes don't really work for me because it's just a lot of Johnny Knoxville improvising about his wife and everything, and it gets a bit repetitive after a while. I do want to say the practical effects were really good as well to make Johnny Knoxville look like Irving, and overall this is just a really enjoyable film. I'd give it a 7. And then I thought I'd mention that I watched Bad Grandpa Punk 5, which is like a behind the scenes documentary, and it features like deleted scenes and stuff they cut from the film and that, and it's really interesting to see like all the plot lines that they cut from the film because they cut a lot. It's just interesting to see how it didn't work and how it's cut together and all that. I won't really count it as a film, it's just a bunch of deleted scenes and that strung together, and it's not really coherent or anything, so I won't give it a rating. Then I watched The Book of Boba Fett. This show was very weird. I wasn't expecting to enjoy the series going into it, but I did enjoy the first 3 episodes. Episode 3 or 4 was it? Felt really weird and I just didn't like it that much. Episode 4 was a bit more interesting because it had stuff with the Sarlacc pit in it, which I did like a bit. And then episode 5 was absolutely phenomenal out of nowhere, but obviously it was focusing on Mando, and yeah, it's kind of sad because the Mandalorian outshined Boba Fett in his own show. Episode 6 was just as good as episode 5 as well, with the Luke and Grogu stuff. I was absolutely blown away. It was amazing. And then the finale was okay. I liked some of the moments between Mando and Grogu. The battle scenes were pretty good. I like that blue guy, I can't remember his name, but I think he's from Clone Wars or whatever. He was interesting. I don't like how he just got killed off though. I don't know what to say about this show. I'd give it a 7.5. Episode 5 and 6 was absolutely phenomenal. And the rest of the season was acceptable. Then I decided to watch every single Family Guy episode that was rated 7.5 or over on IMDB. It was an experience. I did enjoy a lot of the episodes. Some of the jokes were really good, but as the seasons went on, I started to enjoy the series like a little bit less and less. Characters started to get a little bit more annoying. The jokes weren't landing as much. The writing just wasn't as good. It's a good experiment, I think. It made me feel good that I understood like the running gags and that and jokes throughout the show. I watched so many episodes that I can't like pick out what's like my favourite and what's my least favourite, but I enjoyed a lot of them. And then I watched Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl. I haven't watched any of them before this, but I've seen like clips of it on telly and that. I really enjoyed this first film. Very gripping and interesting plots. Really like the characters. Obviously Jack Sparrow is an iconic character. Played so well by Johnny Depp. The action scenes in this are really well shot and they're really creative, and the cinematography is really good. The score is iconic as well. I do think the pacing was a little bit off at some points though. Some scenes could have been shortened a little bit. It was a little bit long. Yeah, all around this was a really fun film. Really enjoyed the characters, really enjoyed the plot. 8. And then I watched Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest. This was boring. No, it wasn't that boring. I just found some scenes started to drag a lot, and there's a lot of dialogue heavy scenes, and just the pacing wasn't the best. Plot wasn't as easy to follow as the last, I don't think. I just didn't understand it as much. I don't know if I have a stupid brain or whatever, but like I really like Davy Jones as a villain in this film though, as well as all the other like characters on that ship. And I thought Jack Sparrow had some really good physical comedy scenes in this film as well. Some really good cinematography as well. I give it a 6.5. Sorry. Then I watched Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. This has the best cinematography, I think. Just some amazing shots. That scene at the end where like the ship is blowing up and the captain's just like walking down the stairs like everything's normal and everything's blowing up around him. That scene is just absolutely phenomenal. And I do think the humour is the best in this film as well. Really like the weird moments like Jack in Davy Jones' locker. It gives me like Rango vibes, which is what this director ended up directing. This film is just way too long. It's almost 3 hours, okay? It really dragged in the second act, I think. Really like all the stuff with Davy Jones again. And this film feels like really epic. I just really enjoyed the third act between like Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow, like battling it out and that. It was just fun to see. And I think it had a pretty good conclusion as well. So I think I'd give it a 7.5. I do want to mention that I didn't watch 4 and 5 because I've heard that 4 and 5 are not very good films. And then I watched Jackass the movie. This is just a really fun movie about a group of friends, stuntmen, doing weird, disgusting, funny things. These films are not really like presented as movies, they're more like stitched together short bits, but I think they work well. Just some really entertaining stunts, very disgusting stunts, some of them. There's a lot of puking, there's a lot of bum. Overall, this was just really enjoyable, fun time. I felt like I was with the group, along with them, laughing along with them. I'd give it a 8. And then watch Peacemaker. This was a really good show from James Gunn. Really good follow-up from Suicide Squad. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I would. The opening sequence alone is just a 10 out of 10. I like every single one of these characters. They're just so engaging every single episode. The cliffhangers at the end of every episode of the show are just so good as well and done so well. I just love the twists and turns. And it came to a really good finale as well. I didn't expect cameos from The Flash and Aquaman to show up as well. That was really funny. Really well made show, really good script, really good jokes, really funny, really engaging. It's a 9.5 for me. And then I watched the Cuphead Show on Netflix. I really like the animation for this show. I played the Cuphead game like a few years back, but I ended up like rage quitting it. I think it was a really well made game. Very stylized. The episodes of the show were pretty good. They were really short, they're like 10 minutes long each. Most of the episodes were really well made and really enjoyable. Some of the episodes I found really boring though. I like the devil episodes the most. Those are really fun, but there's lots of these like off-topic episodes which I really didn't like. I think that only really like off-topic episode that I really liked was the one where Elder Castle thought Cuphead and Mugman were gonna murder him because he was too old. That was just really funny to me. Overall, the animation is good. The writing is pretty good. Voice acting is pretty good. Really like the devil plot, but the subplots, not so much. I give this series an 7.5. And then I watched Jackass number 2. This one improved on a lot of things from the first. The stunts were much more funnier. They're much more entertaining. Really enjoyable. Again, it feels like I'm hanging out with them. A fun time. It's just a fun time. I'd give it an 8.5. Then I thought I'd mention that I watched Jackass 2.5. Again, like Bad Grandpa 0.5. This is like a behind the scenes documentary including deleted scenes and deleted stunts and that. And it includes interviews with the cast and members and all that. Again, it's interesting to see what didn't make it into the film, what didn't work for the film. But most of the cut stunts aren't funny though. I see why they didn't turn up in the final film. So I don't know. And then I watched Jackass 3D. This one was really enjoyable as well. I think it's just as good as the second one. I do like the introduction of the slow-mo camera. I think it adds a lot to some of the stunts. Makes you feel the stunts much more in points. And it works well with like segments like the Rocky segments in that. And the ending stunt for this film was Steve-O with the Poo Cocktail Supreme. That was just absolutely amazing. It was just all of the best things about Jackass combined into one stunt. I think I'd give this film an 8.5 as well. Very enjoyable. And then I watched Jackass 3.5. Behind the scenes documentary, deleted scenes, deleted footage. I do think this is better than Jackass 2.5 because the deleted stunts were much more interesting. I thought I mentioned that after I watched these films, I watched like a behind the scenes video on YouTube about what happened behind the scenes with like drug problems and alcoholism and that. And it was actually really sad to hear. And then I watched Little Miss Sunshine. I saw it on Disney Plus. It looked like an interesting film and I just felt like watching something comedy related again. Something with Steve Carell. I went and watched this film and it was really good. It's really interesting to see Steve Carell in a more like serious role. He's a really likeable character in this film. So are all of the characters in the family as well. They're also like extremely likeable. Some characters like the dad character, I really didn't like him at the start, but by the end he like actually grew on me. I really like some of the shots in this film as well. It's very stylized. I do like the blend of drama and comedy in this film as well. And you do really feel for these characters when stuff happens to them. The acting in this film is just really amazing as well. Some really heartwarming scenes in this film as well, and the story is just really compelling as well. Really good film. I'd rate it a 9.5. And then I watched The Way Back. Again, I felt like watching another Steve Carell film. This also stars Toni Collette, who starred in Little Miss Sunshine as well, but obviously they're directed by two completely different directors. In Little Miss Sunshine, it focused on the family like as a whole, whereas in this film it focuses on the child. To be honest, I do think he's very cringe and very awkward. I don't really like him that much. I really love Sam Rockwell in this film. His performance and jokes in this film are just so good. The whole water park aspect of this film is just really good. Apart from the GoPro footage, I thought the GoPro footage was kind of cringe. I didn't really like the family drama aspect of it though at the start. I just didn't really care for it. But by the time we get to the end and everything like peaks, Steve Carell was like literally about to beat up his own son. I like that. I really like that. Like Steve Carell is like unfortunately the most unlikable character in this film, which I don't really like because I like Steve Carell. I just think the pacing is off at some points. So yeah, it was enjoyable enough. I give it a 7. So that is it for all of the films that I've watched in the month of February. I'm currently watching Genius, a Kanye trilogy. This documentary is so interesting so far, so well directed, so well made. It's really interesting seeing like the start of Kanye's career and how he got up to the point of like success that he did. Really liking it so far. So that is it for this week's video. If you'd liked it, please leave a like. If you didn't, please leave a dislike, and I will see you in the next video.